Stop. These coins could be hidden treasure. Do not spend them. Check your pocket now, because what looks like ordinary state quarters could actually be a silent fortune slipping through your fingers every single day. Nobody talks about this, but collectors are fighting hard over certain pieces you might have already used for coffee. Real auction shock is happening right now, and these coins change everything. Stay with me, because each coin we reveal gets rarer, scarier, and way more valuable, and missing even one could cost you thousands. First up, you've probably held this coin and didn't even blink. That's what makes this one dangerous. Not rare-looking, not shiny, not screaming for attention, just sitting quietly in your pocket like it's worth nothing. But here's the truth that most people miss. This exact 2012 P state quarter has already shocked the auction world, quietly climbing to around $60,000 in real sales. And the scariest part? People are still spending it like it's just 25 cents. Do not spend this coin. What you're about to hear changes everything. Now think about 2012 for a second. The United States was still crawling out of the financial chaos left behind by the 2008 crisis. The economy was under pressure. The mint was adjusting production strategies, and demand for circulating coinage was unstable. That kind of environment creates stress, real stress, inside the minting process. And when pressure builds, mistakes, variations, and overlooked rarities are born. This isn't just a coin, it's a product of a very specific moment in American economic tension, and collectors know exactly how valuable that makes it. At first glance, the front of this quarter looks completely normal. You've got George Washington facing left, that familiar calm expression, the word liberty arching above, "In God we trust," sitting to the side, and the year 2012 stamped below. But here's where it gets serious. The tiny P mint mark, representing Philadelphia, becomes an obsession point. Collectors don't just glance at it, they study it. Its placement, sharpness, and wear tell a deeper story about how this coin was struck under pressure. Flip it over, and the reverse design hits differently once you know what you're looking at. The imagery tied to the specific state design from that year carries fine details that often get lost in circulation. The lines, the textures, the lettering, United States of America, a pluribus unum, and $quarter, they all hold clues. On high-value examples, even in fine condition, these elements show a very specific type of wear pattern that collectors hunt for. This isn't about perfection, it's about survival with character. This coin is made from a copper core layered with cupronickel, giving it that familiar silver-like appearance. But don't let that fool you. It's not the metal that makes this valuable, it's everything that happened during its creation. The weight sits right around 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.26 millimeters and a thickness close to 1.75 millimeters. That reeded edge, what most people call the girth, has to feel right too. Serious collectors can literally feel the difference between an ordinary quarter and one that carries hidden value. Here's something most people never think about: minting pressure. In 2012, the US Mint was pushing out massive quantities, and dyes were being used longer than ideal. That leads to subtle dye wear, slight inconsistencies, and unique surface textures. These aren't errors you can easily see. They're felt, studied, and recognized by trained eyes. And when a coin survives years of circulation with just the right amount of wear, that's when it becomes a target. That's when collectors start competing quietly. And let's talk about condition, because this is where people mess up badly. Fine condition doesn't mean damaged. It means naturally worn, evenly circulated, and still holding important design details. The worst thing you can do right now is clean this coin. Never clean the coin. That natural toning, The slight darkness, even the dirt embedded in the etafsil, that's history. That's proof. Once you wipe it, polish it, or improve it, you destroy its story, and its value drops instantly. Collectors are not just buying metal, they're chasing emotion. This specific coin represents a moment, a rarity hidden in plain sight, and the thrill of finding something others ignored. That's why, when one of these shows up at auction, things get intense. Bidding doesn't always start loud. It starts quiet, calculated, and then suddenly explodes. Two collectors who know what they're looking at will push that price up without hesitation. This is not fiction. This is happening. Right now, demand is rising while supply is quietly shrinking. Why? Because the more people learn about this coin, the fewer remain in circulation. People are pulling them out, storing them, sending them for professional grading. And that's another critical point. Professional grading is everything. Without it, you're guessing. With it, you're proving. A certified example carries trust, and trust is what turns a quarter into serious money. If you think you might have one, here's what to check first. Look at the mint mark. Make sure it's a clear P. Study the wear. Does it look natural or damaged? Feel the edges, examine the surface, and most importantly, do nothing to it. No cleaning, no polishing, no shortcuts. Patience creates wealth in this game. The people making real money are the ones who wait, who learn, and who respect the coin's original state. And here's the truth that should make you pause. This coin doesn't look rare. That's why it's so easy to lose. It blends in, disappears into change jars, gets handed over at gas stations. You could have had one yesterday. You could have one right now. You're holding a silent fortune and not even realizing it. Do not spend this coin. But don't relax yet, because the next coin we're about to uncover makes this one look common. It's rarer, far more aggressive in auctions, and the reason collectors are losing sleep right now, and if you miss it, you might never get another chance. You need to slow down for a second, because this next coin is where things start getting uncomfortable. Not exciting, uncomfortable. Because once you realize how many of these you've probably touched, spent, or ignored, it hits hard. The 2011 D State Quarter is not flashy, not rare-looking, not something you'd ever think twice about. And yet, right now, it's pulling in around $80,000 in auction environments. That's not hype. That's real money moving quietly. And if you miss this, you won't even know what you lost. Let's rewind to 2011, because this year matters more than people realize. The US economy was still under pressure, unemployment was high, and the government was navigating financial instability while trying to maintain public confidence. The US Mint wasn't operating in a relaxed environment. It was under demand, under deadlines, and under stress. And when that kind of pressure builds, the coins produced during that time carry something different. Subtle inconsistencies, overlooked characteristics, things that collectors today are hunting aggressively. Now look at the front of this coin, the obverse. George Washington's portrait is instantly recognizable, but on a valuable 2011 D, the details hit differently. Liberty curves across the top, In God We Trust sits to the side, and the year 2011 anchors the bottom. But your focus should lock on to that small D mint mark. Denver. That single letter changes everything. Its sharpness, its spacing, even how it sits in relation to the design, these are the details collectors obsess over. Most people never even notice it. Flip the coin, and the reverse design starts telling a deeper story. The state imagery is packed with fine lines and textures that wear down in circulation, but in the right fine condition coin, those details still breathe. United States of America sits proudly. E pluribus unum is stamped with purpose, and $quarter completes the identity. But here's what most people miss. On high-value examples, the wear is even, natural, and untouched. No artificial shine, no tampering, just time doing its work. This quarter is built with a copper core and cupronical outer layers, giving it that familiar silver tone. But again, it's not about the metal, it's about the moment it was struck. The coin weighs approximately 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.26 millimeters and a thickness near 1.75 millimeters. Run your finger along the reeded edge. That's the girth collectors feel for. Authentic pieces have a very specific tactile response, something experienced collectors recognize instantly without even looking. Here's where things get even more intense. Minting stress. In 2011, the Denver Mint was pushing production hard. Dies were used longer, pressure was higher, and that created microscopic differences in how coins were struck. These aren't dramatic errors you can spot from across the room. These are subtle, almost invisible characteristics that only show up under careful inspection. And when a coin from that environment survives in a balanced fine condition, that's when collectors start paying attention. And survival is the key word here. Think about how many quarters from 2011 have been worn down, damaged, lost, or destroyed. The ones that remain, untouched, uncleaned, and naturally aged, are becoming harder to find every single year. That's why original condition matters so much. If you've got one of these, never clean the coin. Even a small attempt to improve it wipes away the natural toning that proves its authenticity. Once that's gone, so is the serious value. Collectors don't just want this coin, they connect with it. It represents a moment in U.S. history when pressure shaped production, and those subtle effects created something rare without anyone noticing at the time. That emotional pull is what drives auctions into chaos. At first, bidding is quiet, almost cautious. Then suddenly it spikes. 2 or 3 collectors recognize the same details, and the price climbs fast. This is not fiction. This is happening behind the scenes. Right now, demand for the 2011 D quarter is rising sharply, while supply continues to disappear. People are pulling them out of circulation, locking them away, and sending them for grading. And that's something you cannot ignore. Professional grading is critical. Without it, your coin is just a guess. With it, it becomes verified, trusted, and desirable. That's the difference between pocket change and a life-changing opportunity. If you think you've got one, here's what you do, but do it carefully. First, check that D mint mark. Then, study the wear. Does it look natural even and untouched? Look at the surfaces under light. Are they dull in a consistent way, or do you see unnatural shine from cleaning? Feel the edge, the weight, the balance. And then, stop. Don't rush. Don't try to fix anything. Patience is where the real money is made. Because here's the truth that should stay with you. This coin does not look valuable. That's why it's so dangerous. It blends in with every other quarter, gets tossed into jars, handed over in stores, and forgotten. Meanwhile, collectors are quietly paying tens of thousands to secure the right example. You could be holding hidden wealth right now and not even realize it. Do not spend this coin. And if you think $80,000 is shocking, the next coin is on another level entirely. Rarer, harder to find, and the kind of piece that turns ordinary people into overnight success stories if they recognize it in time. This one is going to mess with your head because it's too new, too fresh, too normal. The kind of coin you wouldn't even bother picking up if you dropped it. And that's exactly why it's slipping through people's hands every single day. The 2022 P State Quarter, yes, that recent, is already hitting around $30,000 in auctions. Let that sink in. Something you could have gotten as change last week is now a silent fortune. Do not spend this coin. Now here's where it gets even more unsettling. The year 2022 wasn't just another minting year, it was a period of transition. Inflation was rising fast, the US economy was shifting, and the mint was adapting to new production demands while introducing updated designs under intense timelines. That kind of pressure creates opportunity, not for the average person, but for collectors who understand what rushed production can leave behind. Subtle differences, slight inconsistencies, tiny details that most people ignore, but that drive value. When you look at the front of this coin, something immediately feels different if you're paying attention. George Washington is still there, but the portrait was updated, sharper, more detailed, facing right instead of left, like older quarters. Liberty stands bold. In God we trust is positioned differently, and the year 2022 sits clean and modern. And then there's that small P mint mark. Philadelphia, easy to overlook. But collectors don't overlook it. They analyze it. Its clarity, its depth, even the way it reflects light under magnification, it all matters. Flip the coin, and the reverse design tells a completely new story. The 2022 quarters introduced fresh imagery as part of a new series, and that means new dies, new engraving styles, and new chances for variation. United States of America stretches across the top. E pluribus unum is placed with precision, and quarter dollar anchors the bottom. But here's the thing, on valuable examples, especially in very fine condition, the wear reveals just enough detail to prove authenticity without destroying the design. That balance is everything. This coin still uses the familiar copper core with cupronickel cladding, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's ordinary. It weighs about 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, and a thickness close to 1.75 millimeters. The reeded edge, the girth, should feel consistent and sharp. But what experienced collectors notice is the feel of the strike. Coins from high-pressure production years like 2022 often carry a slightly different surface tension, something subtle but real. Here's where most people completely miss the opportunity. Because the coin is so recent, they assume it can't be rare. That assumption is costing people thousands. In 2022, the mint was pushing to meet demand quickly, and that led to dies being used aggressively. When dies wear down faster than expected, the coins they produce start showing micro-level differences, softness in certain areas, slight variations in lettering, or unusual texture patterns. These aren't obvious flaws, they're hidden signatures. And let's talk about condition, because very fine is where things get interesting. This isn't a perfect coin. It's one that has circulated, but carefully. The major details are still visible, the wear is even, and the surfaces haven't been destroyed by abuse. That kind of survival, especially for a modern coin that people treat casually, is rare. And if you find one like this, never clean the coin. That natural toning, even if it looks dull or slightly dirty, is what proves it hasn't been altered. Collectors are becoming obsessed with coins like this because they represent something new, modern rarities hiding in plain sight. It's not about digging through history anymore. It's about paying attention right now. That's why when a 2022 P quarter in the right condition appears at auction, things get intense fast. At first, it looks like just another listing. Then the right eyes catch it. Then the bids start climbing. Quietly at first, then aggressively. This is not fiction. What's happening right now is a shift. Demand is building because more people are waking up to the fact that newer coins can carry serious value. At the same time, supply is shrinking because those who recognize them are pulling them out of circulation immediately. They're not spending them. They're storing them, protecting them, and sending them in for professional grading. And that step, grading, is critical. Without it, your coin is just a possibility. With it, it becomes a verified asset. If you think you might have one, don't rush. First, confirm that P-mint mark. Then, study the condition. Look for even wear, no harsh scratches, no signs of cleaning. Tilt it under light and watch how the surface reacts. Does it look natural, or does it have that artificial shine that ruins value? Feel the edges, check the balance, and then leave it alone. The biggest mistake people make is trying to improve a coin that's already valuable. Because here's the reality that should make you pause. This coin is still out there. It's in pockets, jars, cash registers, being spent without a second thought. Meanwhile, collectors are quietly paying tens of thousands for the right example. That's hidden wealth. That's a life-changing opportunity sitting in plain sight. And if you don't recognize it, you lose it. Do not spend this coin. But don't get comfortable, because the next coin we're about to reveal is older, far more intense, and the kind of piece that collectors don't just want, they chase it. And once you see why, you'll never look at your change the same way again. Most people laugh when they hear this one, until they realize they already had it and lost it. The 2017 D State Quarter doesn't look rare, doesn't feel special, and definitely doesn't warn you before it disappears into a vending machine or a gas station drawer. But here's the part that hits hard. This exact coin, in the right fine condition, has already reached around $50,000 in real auction environments. That's not hype. That's quiet money moving fast. Do not spend this coin. Now, step back into 2017 for a moment, because this year carries a different kind of pressure. The U.S. economy was stabilizing on the surface, but behind the scenes, production demands at the mint were shifting again. New designs were rolling out, public interest in coin collecting was fluctuating, and the mint had to balance speed with precision. That balance doesn't always hold. When production lines move fast and dies are pushed harder than usual, subtle variations start creeping in. And those tiny differences, that's where value is born. Take a close look at the obverse, the front of this coin. George Washington's portrait is still there, but in 2017, the strike quality coming out of Denver had slight inconsistencies that collectors now obsess over. Liberty stretches across the top, bold but sometimes showing slight softness depending on die wear. In God We Trust sits to the side, and the year 2017 anchors the design. But the real focus, the detail that changes everything, is that small D mint mark. It's not just a letter, it's a signal. Flip the coin over, and the reverse design from the 2017 series starts revealing its importance. These designs were intricate, packed with fine lines and textures that didn't always survive circulation. United States of America crowns the top, E pluribus unum sits cleanly, and quarter dollar finishes the layout. But in a valuable fine condition example, you'll notice something unusual. The wear doesn't destroy the coin, it defines it. The tafasil remain just strong enough to tell its story without being overpowered by damage. The composition might seem standard, copper core with cupronical layers, but don't underestimate what that combination holds when it's struck under pressure. The coin weighs approximately 5.67 grams, measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness around 1.75 millimeters. The reeded edge, the girth, should feel uniform, but collectors who know what they're doing can sense when something is different. There's a subtle tightness to coins that came from high-pressure minting periods, and 2017 was one of those periods. The Denver Mint was running hard, pushing output and using dies longer than ideal. That creates micro-level changes, slight flattening in high Nakat, minor inconsistencies in lettering, and surface textures that don't match standard expectations. These are not dramatic errors. They're quiet signals. And when a coin with those characteristics survives in a balanced fine condition, that's when collectors start paying serious attention. Here's where things get risky for you, because most people destroy the value without even knowing it. They find a coin that looks dirty or old and immediately try to clean it. Never clean the coin. That natural toning, the slight darkness, even uneven coloration, that's exactly what proves the coin hasn't been altered. Once you remove that, you're not improving it. You're erasing the very thing that makes it valuable. And once it's gone forever. Collectors are not just chasing rarity here, they're chasing a feeling. The 2017 D quarter represents a hidden moment in modern minting, where pressure created subtle uniqueness. That's why auctions involving this coin don't stay calm for long. At first, bidding feels controlled, almost quiet. Then, someone recognizes the tafasil. Then another. And suddenly it escalates. Fast. Aggressive. Competitive. This is not fiction. This is exactly how these coins move in the real market. And right now, something important is happening. Supply is shrinking. People who understand this coin are pulling it out of circulation and holding on to it. They're not spending it. They're not trading it casually. They're sending it for professional grading, locking in its authenticity, and waiting. Because patience in this space doesn't just reward, it multiplies. Without grading, your coin is just a possibility. With grading, it becomes a verified piece of serious money. If you think you might have one, slow down and check carefully. Look for that D mint mark, clear, not distorted. Study the wear. Does it look natural and even, or damaged and uneven? Tilt the coin under light and watch how the surface reacts. Does it have that soft, original look, or an artificial shine from cleaning? Feel the edges, the weight, the balance. And then stop. Don't rush to sell. Don't try to fix anything. This is where patience creates wealth. Because here's the truth that most people can't accept. The coin doesn't look valuable. That's why it's so easy to lose. It blends in with every other quarter, gets spent without thought, and disappears into circulation again. Meanwhile, collectors are quietly paying tens of thousands to secure the right one. That's hidden wealth. That's a silent fortune sitting in your pocket. And if you don't recognize it, you lose it. Do not spend this coin. But don't move yet, because the final coin in this list is on a completely different level. Rarer, more misunderstood, and the kind of piece that turns a simple kentet into a life-changing moment. And once you see it, you'll realize just how close you've been this whole time. There's a moment, just 1 second, where you either recognize this coin or you lose it forever. No warning, no sign, nothing dramatic. The 2016 P-State quarter doesn't stand out, doesn't shine differently, doesn't feel heavier in your hand. It just exists quietly. And that's exactly why people are accidentally spending something worth $40,000 without even thinking twice. This is not rare looking, this is rare knowing. Do not spend this coin. Now let's go back to 2016, because this year sits in a strange place in US. History. The country was in a transition phase. Economic recovery was stabilizing, but uncertainty was still hanging in the air. The mint was producing coins at a steady but pressured pace, balancing efficiency with design precision. And when production becomes routine under pressure, something interesting happens. Small details start slipping through. Not mistakes, but variations. Subtle shifts that only show up years later when collectors begin to notice patterns. Look at the front of this coin closely. George Washington's portrait is still facing left in the 2016 design, strong and familiar. Liberty curves across the top. In God We Trust is placed just to the side, and the year 2016 sits clearly at the bottom. But here's the nukta that most people ignore, the P mint mark. Philadelphia. It's small, almost invisible if you're not looking for it. But collectors don't just look, they study it. Its position, its sharpness, the way it was struck, it all carries meaning. Turn the coin over, and the reverse design from the 2016 series starts to reveal its importance. These designs were detailed, layered with fine engraving that doesn't always survive circulation. United States of America stretches across the top. E pluribus unum is carefully placed, and $quarter anchors the bottom. But in a very fine condition coin, something special happens. The design isn't perfect, but it's alive. The wear shows history, not damage. That balance is exactly what collectors want. The coin itself is made from a copper core with cupronickel cladding, giving it that standard silver appearance. It weighs around 5.67 grams, with a diameter of 24.26 millimeters and a thickness close to 1.75 millimeters. The reeded edge, the girth, should feel consistent when you run your finger across it. But here's what most people miss. It's not just about measurements. It's about presence. Coins from certain production runs carry a slightly different texture, a different feel in the eyelid. And 2016 was one of those years where production pressure created subtle uniqueness. The Philadelphia Mint was working through high demand, and dies were used longer than they should have been. That leads to small but important differences. Slight softness in high points, tiny shifts in lettering clarity, and surface textures that don't match earlier or later issues. These are a tafasil that collectors chase. Not obvious errors, but quiet fingerprints of the minting process. Now, here's where people make the biggest mistake, and it destroys everything. They find a coin like this and think it looks dull, maybe even dirty, so they clean it. Never clean the coin. That natural toning, that slightly dark or uneven surface, is proof that the coin is original. It's untouched. It's real. The moment you try to improve it, you erase that proof. And once it's gone, the value doesn't just drop, it disappears. Collectors are emotionally connected to coins like this because they represent hidden opportunity. The 2016 P quarter isn't supposed to be rare, and that's what makes it powerful. It's overlooked, underestimated, and quietly circulating while serious collectors are actively searching for it. When one shows up in the right, very fine condition, auctions don't stay calm. They start slow. Then someone notices the details. Then another. And suddenly it becomes competitive, aggressive, focused. This is not fiction. Right now, demand is climbing while supply is fading. Every day, more of these coins are being pulled out of circulation and held. Not sold, held. Because the people who understand this coin know something others don't. They know that patience is what turns this into serious money. And they also know that professional grading is critical. Without it, your coin is just a guess. With it, it becomes a verified piece of hidden wealth. If you think you've got one, don't rush. First, confirm that P mint mark is there and clear. Then examine the condition. Look for even wear, no harsh damage, no unnatural shine. Tilt it under light and watch carefully. Does it reflect softly, or does it flash like it's been cleaned? Feel the edges, check the balance, and then stop. Don't touch it more than necessary. Don't try to fix anything. The biggest gains come from restraint. Because here's the reality that should stay with you. This coin is still out there. It's being spent every single day by people who have no idea what they're holding. It's sitting in jars, wallets, and registers, quietly waiting for someone who knows what to look for. That's hidden wealth. That's a silent fortune. That's a life-changing opportunity hiding in plain sight. And if you miss it, it's gone. Do not spend this coin. And now think about everything you've just seen. 5 coins, all hiding in everyday circulation, all capable of turning spare change into something unbelievable. But here's the hakika, this is just the beginning. There are more coins out there right now, even rarer, even more valuable, slipping through people's hands every single day. So before you spend another quarter, check again. Because the next one you find might not just be money, it might change everything.